are you ready for some North American PvP?
You betcha. In the Northeast, we have the blue Protoss player. No, it's the red Protoss. I don't even know what to say. I botched it. It's Astrea.
Yeah, at least you didn't do the full intro on the wrong player while
I have literally,
players, so.
I have literally screwed up my first intro every single time that I've done my first NA cast this last week. I got 2 people's race wrong. I got the color wrong once. And then one time I just like blanked out, even though I wasn't distracted. I was just staring at the screen.
On the left-hand side, our blue Protoss player from License to Kill, it is Nina.
Yeah, they hit me with a little bit of that, like the shock, you know, like it'd been so long that I've gotten to come on here and do some casting with you guys that
Yeah.
Suddenly I do 6 days in a row and I'm like, I literally had a dream that I was just like doing the last couple of American matches, thinking about how I was going to go to bed after we were done casting for 10 hours. And then I woke up and had to cast and I'm like, God damn. But, yeah, so it's been fun. It's been fun. But yeah, that's all I'm gonna say. Let's talk about some PvP, I guess. Astrea has been one of those players that has loved and probably was pushing before anybody else this gateway expand on the low ground. I don't know if he's really credited with any part of that, but he's been doing it forever. And we used to talk about how his style in NA was basically baiting other Protoss players because everybody would constantly try to all in him. And I love that approach to the game because there are so many different things that can happen in StarCraft. But to do something, whether it's like really greedy or slightly greedy, and then put the onus on your opponent to punish you, it kind of like hardens you into like this very difficult to kill player, because at first you would likely lose a lot against really good players, but you slowly iron those out and you're like, well, maybe if I do this instead of that, and then suddenly you can just one gate expand every game and nobody can kill you anymore. And I always thought that I always had a high level of respect for Astrea for kind of pushing the meta in that way.
Yeah, I've always loved watching Astrea play, man. He's just so innovative. He likes to stick to his own styles. You know, he really just believes that, you know, in what he does and everything. And hey, look at this start, Nate. This is just straight up what, like, faster Stargate, faster Nexus. He just skipped a Stalker, right? But like, he has the information that he can do that fairly safely. What's one less Stalker going to do in this game compared to a faster Nexus and Stargate? I already love it. The first decisions already feel great to me. Oh, I like that, though. That's fun. Cancel the Stargate from Nina once she kills the probe.
Fascinating. And you know what is even more weird? The probe's death vision. This is something that we don't talk about very often in StarCraft. Astrea actually knows there's not a Stargate.
Wow.
When a unit dies, particularly the area around the unit that killed that unit, there's like the fog of war lingers for maybe a frame. I don't know if this has to do with like the 12 tick rate in StarCraft 2, but there is a very brief moment where you still have vision. And because of that, he actually, with no units there, could see that the Stargate was canceled. Whether he looks and acknowledges that or does anything specifically because of that might be a great interview question for Fear Dragon down the line. You can pay me for that, writing that one for you, Ravi. I love you. But definitely an interesting development.
Yeah, that's actually a very good point. As now there's Oracle coming in. Okay, gonna just activate despite the battery. Will not really find much damage here at all. As it's gonna be seeing the Stalkers pushing it back. You get confirmation it is a Twilight Council, so a few seconds earlier on Blink is what Nina is gonna take out of all of this. But of course, Astrea still has that slight worker lead and is gonna have slightly quicker gateways as well, or at least slightly quicker third gateway. So, you know, we're kind of talking about kind of a little bit here, a little bit there when it comes to advantages. What's important is that they're both heading in a similar direction. I mean, this is exactly what you have as Astrea, though. There's Oracle still around and still chances to find damage as the game continues.
Yeah, and there is, you know, obviously the Oracle would have seen the Stargate situation either way eventually, but either way, Astrea coming back with the Oracle. Is it going to see this proxy gateway? Looks like Nina wants to get aggressive, and it will get scouted. So this is just the kind of stuff that Astrea is really good at. Very hard to catch off guard. His whole entire playstyle has revolved around baiting people into trying to all in him for a while, but now he can be aggressive sometimes too. But Nina, if there's one thing that I do think she has, especially in PvP, is that confidence, because it's a very control-based matchup. It's very control-heavy, micromanagement. So that's something she's always been good at with the Blink Stalkers, with Prisms, Disruptors, what have you. And we've seen some pretty ridiculous PvPs from Nina over the course of her career. So I don't necessarily think that having that information gives too much of an edge, because I mean, Astrea is going to be going into his own blink and he's got it done. But Nina, maybe she's just going to try to take a third behind this and do a little contain action.
Yeah, I mean, I like that idea, right? Just get your third up a little bit sooner. One way to overcome what has been a worker deficit for you so far in the game. That said, though, Astrea's going to have the Dark Shrine. And even though there's a robo on the way up and observers able to build, there's not that guarantee that they're going to be in position, right? There's not that guarantee they'll be where they need to be. And that's where the chances open up. That's where these DTs can maybe get themselves into some fun spaces. You can see the first observer is just heading straight out to the middle of the map. So if those DTs can slip on by, you can start having a real good time.
And Obs is headed up towards the pylon, but Nina's vision. Okay, so she knows the one DT did kind of make it past, but Astrea has decided to send it home and go around the outside instead of YOLOing into the natural. So maybe it'll turn into a prism play later, or he will just build an Archon. Hard to guess.
So you just done with the sentence that
you
you're
like
an Archon.
Yeah, I leaned pretty hard. Leaned pretty hard on the word Archon there. I apologize if I scared you.
You're good. I was just like, I just thought you really hated Archons.
I've spent an unhealthy amount of time thinking about ways to get Halloween and October references in, and sometimes just making weird noises randomly, I guess, is manifesting from that. I don't have words for you.
You know, it just sounded like someone who's been absolutely sick of DTs hitting their bases, killing stuff, and then, oh, what? You get to build an Archon?
People don't build DTs against Terran. I can't remember the last time I got DT rushed. Maybe when I was like 24, maybe a long time ago. Ancient history. Astrea pokes that fourth base. Nina blinking in immediately. One of the things Nina does very well in these little skirmishes, especially defensively, is having that sentry and keeping the sentries moving forward with the rest of the army, so that it is difficult to take those trades. But Oracle's going to get into the main at the same time. It's also just a very American thing to go really high up in pitch at the end of a sentence. So I apologize for being a dirty animal, Wardy.
It's okay. Just caught me off guard. That was all. Just give me a little giggle.
Yeah, in my speech class that I grossly overpaid for, they said that is the biggest mistake that we make, and I fell right into the classic trap.
Well, we do have the Stalkers down here from Astrea, still not thrown off by that previous defense, which seems solid. And Nina just using it as a way to try and get in with the DT at the same time, right? So always having a secondary reason for poking with these Stalkers, just trying to make the absolute most of every single unit on the map. And that is what makes Astrea such a great play. He does manage to find ways to make every single unit worth that little bit more, whether it be with another unit elsewhere, the micro on a certain unit, right? Because he's getting chased down. He's got extra Stalkers showing up. He's going to start committing into this fight. He might not mind this so much. He's going to go for it, blinking forward himself. That Guardian Shield, like you mentioned, though, does make a difference. Soaks up so much of the damage that could have been there otherwise. I think a big part in why we do see Astrea forced back yet again.
Yeah, and that is just a really good understanding of what she needs for this situation, because she's been just kind of playing the economic edge in this one. Had the fourth base a bit faster, had the third base a little bit faster, and saying, yeah, Astrea, I know that you like to be aggressive, but you're also not going to invest as much into the technical side of the unit. So it will eventually turn into a lot of zealots with these stalkers. And here's the tough part for Nina. I know she likes the disruptors, but she's kind of prepping up with the cannons in her base. She's getting her own Dark Shrine +2, and I just don't know that there's as much of an answer for the charge lots with this army, since the sentries want to use their energy for Guardian Shield.
Yeah, that's actually very true, right? We don't really have many force fields available. In fact, we've got no energy left at the moment, so the Zealots might just have a hell of a time going into this fight, and that's something you're right, that maybe there's just not enough preparation for. Astrea just continues to expand almost aggressively, right? On his own side of the map, just base after base, still keeping pressure up on his, on Nina's side, and just poking forward. A few Stalkers have sent the Zealots and a lot of the other units away the other side, though, so I'll let those go wandering and maybe hit a run by onto that third base again. It's just been so good with hitting multiple locations throughout this game.
Yeah. A little hit and run style is something that Astrea is very good at, but Nina going to try to rely on the superior control when possible to edge it out. However, we do have DTs being warped in by Nina. That observer pickoff is interesting to keep in mind because we also had Astrea research Shadow Stride, which is just now finished. So that's the DT blink ability, and every single observer that gets killed. We have seen some miraculous comebacks before as a result of it. The DTs are going to walk past this group of zealots that Astrea has. So Nina knows, all right, this kind of flank attack is going to get set, and the DTs might be going in with it. But does Astrea have anything for these DTs? The answer is yes, he does.
Yes, he does indeed. He's got his own DTs, he's got a cannon, and he is just going to start chasing this down and making sure that this is not going to go too out of control too quickly or anything. So, yeah, good HUD shut down. Obviously, DTs are not cheap units either, right? So anytime you kill enough DTs basically for free, you're pretty happy about it. So, yeah, this is getting into one of those drawn-out games, though. I feel like Nina doesn't shy away from these situations, but Astrea is also so great. And I think a countless Astrea need games in these events, which have been exactly like these kind of disrupted, drawn-out, crazy games, and Astrea is just so good. That situation, I do worry a bit for Nina as this continues on.
Yeah, and then here's the other thing. Nina making it into the disruptors at a pretty good pace is something that we see basically every PvP matchup that she's had, including the trickiest ones. She loves to get into the disruptors. That double robos where things get really difficult. Obviously, Astrea has wanted to play very aggro, has wanted to bring the heat, but Nina has slowed the game down so that Astrea can't really take advantage of that. The only real advantage is the economy, like you said. He's been eating the map, taking bases a little bit faster, but here's a big attack on the third of Nina. Lots of zealots, lots of DTs, but there's 3 photon cannons, a pylon wall protecting them. So you basically have a one-way ticket in, but Disruptor Shot is well gonna land. And this is Nina starting her stuff against Astrea, having a very well thought out defensive plan for the aggression that would come from the red Protoss while still having a technical powerful army. Now here's the flank though, the rest of the army trying to come back over. Zealots and DTs, oh my, but there's the Disruptor Shot on the backside. It's actually going to take out a bunch of her own stalkers with that, and the Zealots really starting to pay off with some big dividends.
The Zealots are just the one thing that Nina has really no answer to, right? Unless the Disruptors can take them down, there's just nothing good against them, and I think that's what's really won Astrea this fight. It was a fun fight, right? He comes in from the left, he surrounds, gets surrounded, Disruptor shots everywhere, but yeah, Nina, because she's just gone straight Disruptors, yeah, she got there a little bit quicker, but I really feel as though Astrea benefits massively from these Zealots and has done all game, and finally we saw a fight where it was really effective as well, and now Astrea just a big fight in his favor, and again, he's just continuing to churn out economy right now, while Nina, okay on 5 bases.
Look how many probes he's got. He's a madman.
93 of them made. Like, he is just running away with economy. So even when he took bad disruptor shots before, he was just able to instantly rebuild. Now we see Nina, who has zealots but no charge.
Yeah, ooh, that's gonna make them not quite so useful, especially since once the zealots all start to charge, they kind of spread themselves in a weird way that helps with the disruptors. Diving forward with the blinks onto those disruptors is Astrea. He's still got most of his purification novas available, so while Nina retreats, he's able to get a huge shot off, and that is a devastating amount of damage for the blue Protoss. Chasing back, another shot landing onto the disruptor, picking off the final one, and I mean, that's got to be it. Astrea has so many disruptors still here, and that reinforcement point is not too far away from his third base to bring in another big wave of zealots. The only thing, maybe if that detection was killed, but I think the only DT here is Astrea's.
Yeah, no, I just don't think it's going to matter. That was actually a pretty reasonable shot, but it's just coming in too late here, unfortunately, for Nina. Now she was own 2 disruptors as well. And this fight was just well controlled by Astrea. I even loved, like, he sent a disruptor shot into a couple of warping in stalkers just to be like, oh, guaranteed this shot? Yeah, of course. Why not? I'll take that. So yeah, really just leaping on every opportunity in that battle. And obviously takes out the 5th base. We mentioned his own worker count, his own base count. It's out of control. Nina has absolutely nothing to do about that. So yeah, now knocked down to 4 bases, stuck without really enough disruptors compared to your opponent. And, well, you're definitely feeling pretty good right now as Astrea. I like that blink forward, though, is when the final disruptor shots are pretty much being used, so it was the right time to blink and try and make something of it.
Yeah, oh, that blink to the side, kind of recognizing there wasn't a whole lot of other directions to go. And was off trying to get those photon cannons down because that defense is so crucial. Picks off the one. Just absolute perfect target fire in the face of annihilation by those purification novas. And Astrea takes game number 1 with 4 6,000 minerals in the bank as the GG came through Wardy. So we really see Astrea. This is kind of what we said. He loves to play big economy, overwhelm you with units. But the key in this game was recognizing when he needed to still make that move into the tech. He didn't get left behind. It didn't turn into Nina kind of just chewing away a bunch of units with the disruptors. And honestly, the game gives me some of the vibes that we had on the Cosmic Sapphire match from yesterday, I think, from the last PvP that Nina played. Might have been the one against Patty Mac, actually, I think specifically. That's the game that comes to mind.
Yeah, no, you know what? As we apparently have a small tech issue, hence we're still on the game screen, guys. We'll get that resolved in a moment. But yeah, no, I gotta agree, man. Like, yeah, the thing is with the story as well is just the execution of the fight while being crazy and all over is so good. Like you say, like the target flying was just perfect, and one missed target and it goes all wrong. But the control was so good that I felt like Nina didn't even know what to do about it. She had disruptors that probably killed more of her own units towards the end than units of Astrea, because Astrea was just like, oh yeah, you know, disrupt me here. Joke's on you. I've got away from there. Your units, you know, it just felt like he's just so in control of these fights, each and every single one of them, and is looking very, very good in that first game. Kind of as we expected to, right? Like I said, I mean, Astrea is just meant to be good. It's just Nina's one of the players in NA that should be able to bring a fight to Astrea, and yeah, there was a fight. It just wasn't as close of a fight as maybe we'd like to have.
Yeah, exactly. But I mean, both of them going for some good harass plays, and we are just waiting to resolve just a little technical issue, and we will get into the next game. We actually already had the next lobby and everything set up, but we've just had, you know, long shows, a lot of moving parts. Wardy technology is something that still is a little bit in flux from time to time. But we will get there. We just have a couple more. Well, really, it's this one and one more match after this. So not too far from the end, and you can go enjoy the rest of your Saturday night party. You're gonna. It's like what? Is it 1 a.m. over there yet? It's like midnight parties. So you going to hit up the club after this?
Not even, mate. It's 11 p.m. for me. It's the one benefit the UK works a little bit better. So.
Okay,
yeah.
so you can hit the club after the broadcast. That's awesome.
I can if the club is upstairs in my bed.
Fair enough. Fair enough.
Yeah, it's going to be a great party on my pillow, I tell you that much.
Gonna crash onto that pillow so hard. Yeah.
Yeah. You know, back in the day, my DJing schedule would be loving these hours. Nowadays, you know, I'm just too responsible nowadays, Nate. I actually wake up early. You know, it's getting to 11 p.m. I'm like, oh my goodness.
A couple seasons ago, though, I know it was easier for you guys, but a couple seasons ago when we were starting these shows at, like, I think we would go live at like 4 a.m. PST.
Yeah.
That was the absolute worst. That was the absolute worst. And then getting the email where it's like, you know, Nate, don't know that the energy is really there for these first couple series. People can tell. And I'm like, it's 3 a.m. But yeah, good times. I appreciate you. You guys are champs. You still get to watch GSL with lunch, so I don't feel bad. I can't feel bad for you because it's on at 2 a.m. for me now, but that kind of balances out.
Yeah, GSL starts nice time for me. It's like 10:30, ends at like 2 or 3. It's like a good day.
Once upon a time, Friday night GSL, like 8 o'clock. Oh, make a bowl of ramen, pour myself a little scotch on the side. Those were good days.
Yeah,
all right, we've made it. By the way, we're
getting in game.
We've started the next game. It is happening.
As long as we can actually get in game.
There we go.
Apparently we can.
All right.
Take it, Nate. You got this.
In the top right, we have the red Protoss player leading 1-0. Alpha X's Astrea.
Bottom left from LTK, it is our blue Protoss, Nina.
But you can see, right, Astrea's style. So like it's not like it's a secret, but it is something that he is just kind of honed to that level where he's always going to have more money than you unless you can do some crazy damage. And everything he does is kind of meant to bait you in a little bit, take that step too far, and then boom, he blinks in, snipes all the disruptors, and has those charge lots ready to go with those blinky boys in the back. So I don't think that there's really much reason for him to shake things up in a crazy way. Maybe Nina will try to get out that proxy again. The gateway did get spotted. The canceled Stargate was revealed by the probe's death vision. So just a couple of small things, and particularly the Stargate thing. Whether or not it actually meant anything at all is up for debate, but it's certainly not something that went in her favor.
No, it really wasn't. It was, I liked the idea of it at the time as well, but you're right. It just didn't really do enough because just having her own Oracle up to threaten would have been really nice as well, right? That's something that actually could have been pretty cool given the way the game went. So just feel like it gave Nina a lack of control. And that's the power of a Stargate opening as well, right? You can get so much control of the map, so much opportunity, so much threat on your opponent's base just with a single Oracle or so. And that's why it's such a popular opening. That's why people don't just go straight to Blink 100% of the time. That's why we like to see these Stargates and, get information with them and build off of them.
Yeah, and there is the Stargate on top of the ramp again for Nina. And this probe continuing to dance around, and we'll just have to see which way Astrea takes it, because he also went for that Stargate in the previous one. Pylon on top of the cliff in the main, and just a little cheeky sentry. So that could be just for a hallucinated Phoenix Scout. Doesn't necessarily have to commit to much else there, as Nina boots up her Nexus.
Yeah, just going to get that on the way. Much faster Stargate. And I imagine we're going to see this complete this time around. So eyes on what we get out of this. Should just be straight to an Oracle. And obviously interested to see what Astrea's response is. For now, a second gateway. So lots of gateway units, a lot of pressure that can be applied quickly. Definitely something to potentially keep our eyes on here for sure.
Yeah, and not too much else going on just yet. Twilight Council behind it for Nina. And I think we can expect a very similar flow in terms of where they're going to take the tech and where they're going to bring the production. Nina does have that probe kind of outside. Astrea's probe sees it. But that gateway that was built built last time, it did not really end up getting used. And that could just be because it got scouted. Nina wanted to try and bring some pressure, but that stalker count was still very close. Astrea will build all that stuff. He will kind of take that economic focus, but he's rarely caught without the units. And even if his Twilight is finishing up a moment later, it's really not that significant. He's going to get his blink at a very similar time. Stalkers are here to push the Oracle back. Nina catches one of the probes transitioning over, so that's nice, but just gets one little shot onto the other one. So just a single probe for quite a bit of damage on the Oracle is definitely maybe not what she was looking for.
I was going to say, I wasn't a huge fan of the way that Oracle turned back around, right? It could have gone out to the left. It just had no reason to essentially fly back through the units. Maybe get a probe kill in the mineral line, but is it worth taking that much damage on the Oracle? Because now it's just that much more vulnerable in the future, that much easier for Astrea to clean up and then never have to worry about again. To me, it just takes away some of the opportunity you might have found with that Oracle otherwise, so... Yeah, not a massive fan of that, but I do like the nice quick third base, because you've got the Oracle, you've got the vision, and yeah, just believing you can get that up. We'll see if Astrea can punish that. He takes the 2 extra gateways. Instead, there goes the Oracle. That's the issue now, right? Because now you've got no Oracle. The third base is going down. But what's going to keep Astrea's units at home? Absolutely nothing. So it's very likely he can do some good damage and maybe even cancel his third.
And especially as soon as the Oracle dies, the probe, I mean, the pylon was there, of course. We knew that. But the Dark Shrine is just an even better call now, because even if Nina does get the robotics facility, it's just one less option for detection if the observer's in the wrong spot, or if Astrea is able to pick it off, which is something that he has done. He's focus fired the observers down in those little trades, even in that first game a few times, and something that I expect him to continue to try to do. The funny thing is, stylistically, they match up pretty well because of that, because Nina also does like to take those bases and play a lot of micro, use the DTs. It's just that Astrea prefers to be a little bit greedier, and Nina prefers to be a little bit more on the power units, like those disruptors, for example.
And come out first round of Stalkers of Astrea down the bottom side, and he's not far from having the DTs, and we saw in the last game just how good he was at kind of using the Stalkers to get the DTs in one position, right, and then using the DTs to get the Stalkers in somewhere else. And right now, dragging this entire army over here. If that happens when the DTs are running in, you're gonna have a bad time. So, yeah, time for Nina to be very on point with her defense, very on point with making sure that stuff like that doesn't happen. But I can't say that I'm feeling too great about it right now. The Observer's not exactly in the greatest place to start. So, we'll have to see what Nina can do.
Indubitably, that observer, by the way, sieging up by the third, kind of giving the vision. And Nina, not aware, of course, since the Stark Shrine was very well hidden. As an immortal pops out, where is Nina's observer? It is coming back. It's by that third base. So if it comes within vision range of Astrea's, I almost expect him to make a YOLO die. But there it is, DT now in the main, DT in the natural, and hacking and whacking and smacking away at these probes.
6 workers already going down. This random stalker just kind of running through. I think like Astrea's had a similar kind of movement a couple of times at this point. So something that's obviously going a little bit haywire, but man, 11 workers already going down, and yeah, the DT's just slipped in. They've done good damage. They've stopped mining, and Astrea is going to be very content so far with what his DTs have been able to find.
Yeah, I love that the one got split down towards the natural, but was still kind of taking away probes down the stretch. And there you go. Just get 1 or 2 more if you can. But 12 probe kills here is definitely nice, with both of them being on the third base. We know Astrea loves to have that money. But I think the other big thing that you were talking about before, with the loss of the Oracle, there's no stasis, which was definitely something that was still happening last game, trying to get the stasis behind the mineral lines, this, that, the other thing. Well, I mean, you know, at least Astrea was doing it, but Nina could have done that this game.
Yeah, you just lose so much opportunity, right? It's just, like I said, it's just a real shame as now these stalkers going a different way. And this is the other thing. What if we're just dropping revelations on these stalkers repeatedly as well? Just tracking stuff like this and stopping it from happening ahead of time? That would also be a really good thing to do, right? That would also be kind of really neat. As they do go on the chase right now, Nina has the Immortal, so I can't imagine it's something Astrea wants to fight unless he has Zealots reinforcing. Because again, I feel like he's going to be much quicker onto the charge lots, and that's something which Nina is obviously clearly choosing to just skip or delay. But I really felt like it did so much for Astrea last time, and I can't help but feel it's going to do a lot for him again here as well.
Yeah, and that +1 attack finishing up, moving into the fourth base. Nina getting her fourth as well, and another Dark Templar warping in towards the northwest. I was wondering if and or when we get to see the DT blink again, get researched. Astrea is going to send a single Zealot to that bottom side, so he'll get confirmation on this fourth Nexus that Nina is going for. And since it's not a position that has too much of a choke, maybe he tries to bring the pressure here or send the DT into the natural, everything else towards the other base. But he's going to take 1 probe moving out, and there is a photon cannon, so he's going to get 1 more worker and then step back. A stalker warping to block the wall, and the cannon gets the kill. That's definitely very nice for Nina.
Yeah, cute. Good to get rid of it, not have to worry about it for a little bit. Astrea up 20 army supply, but can't see him winning a fight in right now. Not with what was there, just the stalkers. Maybe with the Zealots included, so the Immortals aren't doing, you know, mass damage every single shot. Force that to target fire. Maybe that's the opening. He doesn't have a nearby reinforcement point. He's just warping in off his own fourth base, and he's just going to rally across the map, which, in fairness, it's not that far, right? Like, it's not the closest thing ever, but it's not an eternity away. Let's see what he can do. 20 army supply up, as we will have the Zealots to help you tank. And again, the Zealots of Nina just do not have charge. She does have that Guardian Shield, at least for now.
Yeah, and she is getting charged, but if the fight doesn't get forced at that moment, it becomes a little bit tricky. There's, of course, the shield battery in the back. And there's really not that crazy number of Zealots for Astrea like we had before, so maybe 1 or 2 more rounds can help as the +2 and Shadow Stride come through. But you don't have as wide of an angle to attack from here either, because even though there's no ramp, it's not enough space. There's actually too many stalkers to completely try to concave through this attack. It is a choke point effectively that works in Nina's favor. So Astrea postures, knows the whole army is here, because otherwise he can just kind of push this. And Nina has not really found that counter harass opportunity. So Astrea takes the 5th, and he's going to continue to apply pressure. It's okay to trade a little bit if he does get ahead economically. We talked about that crazy probe count. It's a little more reasonable this time around. But the Prism trying to slip to the bottom, big blink from Nina is going to shut it down.
Yeah, Astrea didn't grab the attention at the right time there. The Stalker should have been distracting, pulling this army of Nina forward to give the Prism the kind of chance to move through that most dangerous section, get it into the main base. Now you kind of just fly it by, but nothing's happening. Nina would be, Nina's too good to let that just kind of fly by, right? She's not going to let that slide. So, yeah, nice catch from Nina. It was almost, I don't want to really say lazy from Astrea, but we just know that Astrea is good enough to maybe force the attention elsewhere in that moment to keep that Prism alive. Either way, Astrea just sitting in this concave and keeping the idea of this position very much so alive, and that he wants to utilize it once more, Nina is going to be up to disruptors sooner, and Astrea will be trailing on that front. So we're going to start to see, honestly, a very similar situation to the last game. But Astrea is not quite as far ahead economically, but this concave has got to feel good for him. First disruptor shot doesn't land, but now Nina's actually getting further forward, and she is going to blink forwards onto this as well. And this is where I feel like Astrea could really do with a few zealots of his own, but I believe that all down the left-hand side of the map, lining up a counterattack with a DT. So, but I imagine that that's going to be something that Astrea needs to pull the trigger on very soon here.
Yeah. It's awkward. Observer gives vision of high ground in this situation, but that there was the probe that we just, okay, so that probe gets killed. That probe saw all of it. So Nina, not really to be caught off guard. And I want to just, what you were saying, the concave, beautiful, but Nina kind of called the bluff on that. And these disruptors continue to make it awkward. I think just barely getting away from that one there. But it was like this huge spread that was set up. And Nina does have a lot of units. And again, that Guardian Shield is something that she is very consistently using in the Stalker versus Stalker fights, just mitigating a tremendous amount of damage. Disruptor kills everything but the DT. Nice shot there from our blue Protoss.
Yeah, that was actually a great defense. Just makes life a lot simpler, not having to keep on looking back there, not having to look over your shoulder while you're focusing on this fight. You see Nina is going to be pushing forward. On the bottom side, there's a little counterattack again into the, intended fifth base of Nina. And that's what Astrea is now going to use to try and refocus this army, turn it elsewhere. But the disruptors are going to zone nicely. So the stalkers of Astrea cannot get into play. And Nina is playing a pretty good positional game so far, dealing with the counterattacks. Really just improving all around on the things that killed her last time.
Yeah, and that army is still very powerful with the disruptors. Astrea kind of relied on being crazy aggressive against it last time, but Nina has matched him on the expands. So that big money difference that we discussed isn't really there in the same level as Astrea. He's still building a bunch of his own disruptors too. Big hit squad hitting that expansion while he's trying to prolong the fight. Yeah, and with that maxed out, that just means that Nina cannot warp in to help defend against this. So this little hit squad is even more annoying. Got to send something back from the rest of the army.
Oh, God, getting crazy over here. The disruptors of Astrea kind of getting caught, jumped on by Nina. So she is trying to take full advantage of that position and now going to blink on across the right-hand side. Astrea trying to find a defense without his disruptors. Going to be difficult. Has to blink backwards, giving up this space and probably giving up this base. Going to bring the Zealots that were counterattacking over here now to try and flank this army. This is where the Disruptors need to start firing the other direction as well. We blink back. That's going to leave the Disruptors in front. Easy targets if you can get the blink forward on top of them. They continue to pull back. They reset their position to being in the back. That's where they need to be. But Astrea has turned this fight completely around. Fantastic job because it was not looking good for him moments ago. But he makes it work. And, at first I was going to criticize. I was like... Yeah, I thought that base was dead. I thought he could have killed the base of the third base of Nina originally as well if the DTs had just blinked onto the cannons and stuff, but he didn't. But maybe good that he didn't, because then he had those units to come in for the wraparound, and that's what forced Nina into the awkward position and the awkward pull away that gave the rest of the fight to Astrea.
Just a crazy situation. And Nina having two observers, probably the thing I had my eye on the most there, because those DTs, they, if you have that detection gone and they get that little blink up towards where the handful of disruptors are, then it could be a great way to focus those down. But Nina has a Dark Shrine finishing of her own. DTs are coming in, so we are going to see that that counterattack potential maybe coming up for her. Disruptor shots going up and down. This ramp dodges pretty nicely, but man, he likes to play with fire. Astrea gets two big disruptor shots though, and wow, I'm not sure how much more Nina's going to be able to do in this position. I think if you're Astrea, you're thinking about jumping on this army if it steps towards you a little bit more. That hit squad on the west side, by the way, has grown to quite the force.
Yeah, that's ridiculous. This fight was ridiculous. I can't believe Astrea got the disruptor and blinked away okay. And then Nina got a clutch disruptor kill of her own, but the two extra ones obviously hit big time. What a fight. That's what we love about PvP, of course. Always exciting. And you're right, that hit squad on the left is looking huge, but I think Astrea is realizing, hey man, I actually just took a great fight. Maybe I can just consolidate everything and just go for one big attack. Especially, again, if those disruptors aren't well enough protection, you get some DTs and Zealots on them, they sort of drop real quick, and then, the threat is kind of removed. As, you can see Nina's afraid of the left side attacks because she's trying to expand to the bottom right, which is really close to where Astrea's army is.
Yeah, this looks like a sandwich setup. A crazy blink forward. Definitely not the one I think that we were looking to see there. Astrea bleeds out a huge amount of stalkers. He's got a good economic situation, but okay, well, you know, that helps. That definitely helps it a little bit.
Okay, this as well. Yeah, I think Astrea just didn't think the army was there, so he blinked in and get some damage. Now Nina is going to have a huge counterattack on the top side. Blinks away from this disruptor. Astrea's own disruptors can't get in the fight because of Nina's disruptors, but that's about to change. The Zealots are truly going unanswered right now. I feel like the Zealots have been such MVPs in this entire series for Astrea. He is losing the base to the top, and he's going to have to stop the counterattack at some stage, but he's got so much money to do that with. I think he will be able to, although still a lot of DTs, so may want to bring some of his main army back as well instead of just using the super battery, but there's no commitment
recall
from Nina, and there's the recall, yeah. Wow, I mean, crazy stuff. Nina putting up a fight, but Astrea just seems to always have the answers and eventually the better large fight that he needs.
Yep, and I think the other side of it too, in the northwest, both of those bases being secured by Astrea. It's like Nina killed one, but there's actually 2 fresh bases, and there's 22 pros mining in the northwest, so he'll be able to take that gas. Still lots and lots of money available, while Nina has not really been able to get that extra one up quite as easily. So it takes the northwest expansion, but that's pretty close to the Nexus for Astrea. So fast warp-ins, easy access, important tech to defend. I think we're going to see Astrea make a big attack soon. Nina just cannot keep up in the army supply.
Yeah, it's just credit to how good Astrea is, because I do feel like Nina's played very well, but Astrea again has just been able to turn bad situations into good ones. He's been able to control the game. Yeah, I mean, Nina's had one successful counterattack this entire time. It was pretty much the only one she got to try, because Astrea's put on so much pressure and so much control that she's never even seen the opportunity to try counterattacking before that. So yeah, just so much of this is just credit to Astrea, and obviously looking very good right now. Up 20 workers, up 20 army supply, and yeah, up a whole ton of bases as well.
Definitely. And continuing to try and pump out the disruptors for that big comeback potential play. But Nina's income got a little lopsided in terms of the gas. You know, we don't really have that Archon focus for trying to be a factor in this. And DT's going to attack the northwest. Overcharge is used. Army's going to get jumped though in the middle of the map. Disruptor shots from Astrea, killing all the disruptors of Nina, getting a nice little chunk on the Zealots. But that was the majority of the main army for Nina, just absolutely obliterated. Still producing 2 disruptors at a time, but they are not with the army.
No, they are really not, and that was just another massive win for Astrea. Barely lost anything. Anything he loses and almost instantly, and then, you know, in return, what? You know, Nina's just losing out on so much. Just getting cornered, like you said, bad position on the map to take a fight in, worst position to have disruptors flying at you in. There's not really much else you can say about it, honestly. Again, Astrea, I know I'm just kind of gushing over him, but he's just playing such a solid PvP.
So good.
Yeah,
he's playing a crazy good PvP. It's that Nina tried to match in the economic game, but it got really, really ugly once Astrea was able to start pumping out those DTs en masse. GG's called Astrea.